Okay, this is Terry again doing how to write a term paper. We're getting down to the end. I'm actually going to do 3 topics in one video, finishing your paper, table of contents, bibliography, and index, because they're all real short and won't take much time. So I'm going to go over to my dummy paper. I did lose the original paper, so let me take out this extra spot here from practicing. I did lose the dummy paper, so I just kind of recreated it, but this gives you the idea. So what I want to do now is I've got my cover page. I want to put in my table of contents. So I go to my references and I go to table of contents, and I can pick and choose any of these that are automatically there, or I can say I want a custom table of contents, and then I can choose what headings I want. So I can show the page numbers, not show, right align, not show, leaders, no dot leaders, etc. And I'm going to use 4 levels that I want to show the whole thing. And maybe I'll use distinctive as my style. Alright, so I click and it pops it in for me. Right? Now I'm going to put in table of contents. Whoops. And I'll make that just a little bigger. Pop, 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 and center that. And now I've got my table of contents. I want my introduction to actually start on the next page. So I'll hit Control Enter to do the same thing as a page break, which you can find in the Insert tab, page break in the upper left hand corner. Alright, and let's say that I've got the spread of communism and the, let's say military offensive. The military offensive I decide that I want to put down after a divided nation. So I want to take page 5 and 6, that information. So I'm at my table of contents and I'll hit Control Enter. Excuse me, I want to hit, what do I want to hit? Control click, sorry. Control click, and it'll take me to that spot. Then I'll take my military information here and I'm going to X that out, and maybe I'm going to put it after Woodstock and all its musical influences, and put it before the Kent State shooting. So then I'll paste that baby in there. Alright? So this, for some reason, changed, and it's no longer snagged the code. You can tell it went to blue. So to see what happened, I'm just going to go to View. I'm going to go to my outline view, and I see that it actually, when it jumped, it became a level 2, and that's not what I want. I want this to be text. So what am I going to do to show that level? I don't want level 1. I don't want this to be any of these levels. There we go. Click the end arrow and that brings me to body text. So now I should be good, and it should have me back to where I need to be. Alright, another crisis solved. So what's the purpose of this? If I hit Control Home and I go to the top, and now my military perspective has changed, what I can do is I can highlight the table and then go to my references, and then I'll say update the table and update the entire table, and you'll notice that a divided nation switched into its proper spot. Okay? Alright, when we get to the very end, so Control End key will take me to the very end. Again, Control Enter to put me on the top of the next page to do a page break. Then I'm going to put in bibliography. And what do I want to do? Pop that up a little bit and center it, and then hit Enter. So now I'm going to insert the bibliography. So I go to References, and then I go to Bibliography, right? And then I say go ahead and insert it. So now this puts all of those citations in order for me. And just as a quick recap, if we put a citation in, remember we went to wherever our text was, then we just went all the way up to the top to insert citation, clicked on whichever citation it was that we wanted, right? And now, since we used it, that's how the computer knew how to include it into the bibliography. And all the information is in the proper order because we use the APLA, and when we put our citation in, we went ahead and filled in that box. So the manage resources knew. Remember, we chose what article it was, you know, whether it was an article or a book or a website, and then filled that information in. So because we'd already done that, then when it comes time to doing the bibliography, we don't have to worry about it. It's in APA format. It's all good to go. Everything's properly cited, and you're ready to now do which is an index, the next and last step. So again, I'm going to hit Control Enter and type in index, enter. And with this index, then again, I'll bump that up a little bit, bing bing, and center it. And now I want to put in an index. And here's how an index works. If we go all the way up to the beginning of our article, and we take names in here, we want something on Richard Nixon, right? So we'd highlight Richard Nixon, we go to our references, and we'd say mark that entry. This little box comes up and it says, what do you want to mark? And you say, I want to mark that entry, and we're going to pull it from the current page. If we were going to cross-reference it, so whatever president he was, 34th president or whatever he was, you could say cross-reference and then put 34th president in here. All right, and we're going to mark that guy. Now, the one thing that bothers me is I always close this. I can't stand those little paragraph symbols in there. So I take the time to go back to the home and turn the paragraph or the reveal codes and just take them out. So I go back through and I have General Nugent, right? I'm going to mark him. I'm looking through some of the rest of this stuff. Here's General Voy Nugent Gap. And then what do we do? The domino theory might be another one that we'd want to mark. Zing, zing, zing. We might mark Woodstock. We might mark Bob Dylan, Creedence Clearwater. Just any of these things that you think that should be marked. So let's pick French involvement. So I'm going to turn around to French involvement, right? So I'm going to highlight that. Then again, I'm going to go to my references, and then I'm going to say mark the entry. Because I have it highlighted, then it knows that that's the French involvement. And then we can say the C also, or if there's some kind of a sub entry, we can always add that. And I could also hit this mark all button. So that mark all button would give every reference to the French involvement completely through the paper that we're doing. So if you want to mark it once, hit mark. If you want to mark every occurrence that uses the word French involvement, then you'd hit the mark all. Right? And what you get is these little codes here. See this squiggly bracket, XE, then French involvement in quotes in the squiggly bracket. That's how the computer knows. But again, like I said, they're annoying to see, so I always go back and turn those paragraphs off. So I hit the Control N key, I go back to my index, I say in the references, I want to take my index, and this time I want to insert the index. And so I'm going to write a line, and I'm going to use the classic format because I like that ABC. I can tell it how many columns that I want, right? So write a line with a dot leader, you know, makes it the way I think looks nice, and then I hit OK. and then your index is automatically put in there. The alphabets put in there. It takes out the ones that are not used, and these are ones that I previously, before starting this recording, went in, just marked a bunch of them just so you could see how it works. So I think that's pretty dynamite. If you look at that index, you look at your bibliography, we go all the way up to the table of contents, which for some reason this is all showing up in bold and is not the format. So will it let us go down a little bit? Yeah, that looks a little more reasonable, right? So give it a go, see how much luck you have, and hopefully this will turn out nice and consistent, that your computer isn't doing goofy things for you. Alright, good enough? Alright, thanks again, and see you on the last 1 or 2 videos.